Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com. The new screensavers is brought to you by Braintree. Looking to set up payments for your business? Braintree gives your app or website a payment solution that accepts just about every payment method with one simple integration. Plus, Braintree will give you the first $50,000 in transactions fee-free. To learn more, visit BraintreePayments.com/NSS. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit to apply for a loan now. And by IT Pro TV. A good IT pro is always learning, and IT Pro TV is the resource to keep your IT skills up to date with engaging and informative video tutorials. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the lifetime of your account, go to itpro.tv/NSS and use the code NSS30.
Training for space at the bottom of the sea, the man behind Tor, and why Microsoft fans are so giddy. Live from the Twit Brick House in downtown Petaluma, it's the new Screensavers.
For Saturday, October 10th, 2015. I'm Leo Laporte, and you're under arrest for that Mets t-shirt. Ron Richards from All About Android. Hey, Ron.
How's it going?
Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Matt from Melbourne, Australia, who is our studio announcer. You did a great job, Matt. I asked him, when's the Melbourne Cup? He says, I don't know. I don't follow sports. November 3rd, Matt. It's just an excuse to have a few. That's all. Hey, everybody. It's great to see you. There he is. It's great to see you. We thank you for joining us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a huge show coming up. Well, first of all, it's International Lightsaber Day.
It is. These international days are getting hard to keep track of, actually.
We just had Star Wars Day, and now we got lights. So I'm thinking, I'm not exactly a Jedi Knight, but I could do my impression of the Star Wars kid. How's that? It's pretty good, right?
We're coming up on 10 years from that, wasn't that? That's like one of the first memes, right?
That was one of the very first memes, and I got to feel sorry for the poor kid because he was just having fun at home, and you know, now he's famous, world famous as this. So what does Lightsabers Day mean to you?
It doesn't mean a lot. It means apparently there's a hashtag lightsaber fight, and some folks are encouraging people to post their lightsaber fights online.
Most lightsaber fights look a lot like this.
Yeah, pretty much, because these are just plastic. But
Are you excited, though? I was at the movies this week, and I saw the trailer for the new Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, and it looks I'm just you hear that and you get excited, right? Your heart starts pounding. You go, it's coming.
It's hard not to get excited about it. I'm nervous.
You're worried about what J.J. Abrams will do with the franchise.
I'm just worried about anything. It's not the same as what I grew up with, and after the prequels.
Dude, you grew up with Jar Jar Binks.
No, I grew up with the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was my original. But I stood in line. I saw episode 3 5 times in the opening day.
Oh, you're a real fan.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do that again now. I'm older and much more wiser now. So.
You know, the original Star Wars, episode 3, right?
Episode 4 through 6.
Yep. I can't remember. Yeah. Episode 4 came. It's so confusing. Came out in 1977. I was 21. I was out of college. I was actually in the world.
Yep.
So I have a different kind of perception from people like your age, where you saw it as a kid, so it's part of your childhood.
I was born 3 weeks before it opened.
Wow.
It was the first movie I saw. My parents couldn't get a sitter, so they took me to the theater. And they said that I
you
didn't,
have a good heritage.
I didn't sleep. They said I just stayed awake, looked at it the whole time, and it was. I mean, it was the Bible. It was. We had an old VHS VCR, and we had Grease, the Muppet movie, and Star Wars, and those are the three movies we watched from like 1980 until 1986.
Now kids today, they can't bond to a movie. They got so many choices. There's so many movies these days. Hey, you know what else is coming up? Paul Syverson. He is the creator of the Onion Router protocol. The protocol used at Tor worldwide. He did it when he was in the Armed Forces, part of the DARPA research project. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Project Nemo, aptly named. This is astronauts living under the sea to prepare for missions in space. If you're a cord cutter, you'll be interested in Pluto TV.
I'm a cord cutter.
Not a planet anymore, but it's a dwarf TV network. No, it's actually going to be cool. The co-founder will be here. And, of course, we answer your tech questions. But first, let's talk about the big stories of the week. Microsoft. Now, you're an Android guy.
I am an Android guy, but I try to stay in, you want to stay on top of everything that's going on. Yeah, exactly.
I have a Windows phone. I have several.
Yep.
I can't say I'm a big fan. I like the operating system, but I just can't use it because of the apps I want right there, particularly the Google apps. Yep. Microsoft did announce 2 new flagship Windows phones, the Lumia 950 and 950 XL. Looks like a great PureView camera on there. It looks like these will be nice phones. They're nice.
These are all from the Nokia acquisition that Microsoft made, and the Lumia line has always been a line of phones that we've always like, oh wow, those are really nice phones. Too bad I'll never be able to use them because I'm not using Windows Mobile. So yeah.
Surface Pro 4 wasn't a big announcement. It's just better than the Pro 3, which is a very credible, nice Surface.
They increased keyboard size, so now it's more like a laptop keyboard. The pen now snaps to the side of the tablet. So
magnetic. And apparently, Paul Thurrott said it's really strong.
Yeah.
It practically jumps out of your hands. They also announced a new band. I'm actually intrigued by that. That does work with iOS and Android.
Yeah. Well, you have to with these wearables now. If you don't make them cross-platform, they'll be dead in the water.
Well, it'd be kind of foolish to say it requires Windows Phone. I don't.
Exactly.
It'd be like, okay. Yeah. But it does look like a good band. It looks like it has some nice, it's really about sports. The thing I thought was most intriguing is the golf. Did you see the golf?
No, I didn't see the golf. I was too tight. The curved display got me.
It does the radar of the golf course, keeps track of your strokes. It looks very interesting. Cool. And of course it has notifications, so it's kind of like a smartwatch. And HoloLens, I'm sure you're excited about
HoloLens, that is the one from the moment Microsoft announced HoloLens, I have been like watching for any little bit. And this demo that they showed
wasn't that awesome?
Was like unlike anything we've seen with the holographic gauntlet that the guy wears.
So he's got a weapon that appears on his hand, and then creatures are coming out of the wall. I mean, it's the physical wall, but to him, because he's wearing the lens, this is augmented reality, it looks like creatures are coming out. He can see his gun. Here it is.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, you know what I like about it? They picked somebody who looks like us.
Yeah, exactly.
To play the game. I guess they had to, because this was actually pretty terrifying. These guys were coming straight at him.
And I read a couple of people who were a bit skeptical of this, saying this is in a controlled environment. This is Microsoft demoing it. Is it really going to look like this? Is it really going to be that immersive? Yeah. And time will tell. But the development kit is now available. I think it's a $2,000 price tag for developers to
$3,000, not till Q1 next year. Yeah. I'm excited about AR. I think it's on a parallel with VR for being exciting new technology, but Microsoft's got a way to go. We're just gonna have to wait and see, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think VR. I'm still not sold on. Did you see the movie Her, the Spike Jonze
Loved
movie?
Her.
You know the video game he played where it projected in his living room, and it was that like I want to see things like that, like kind of a combination of VR but with an AR.
I think they could do that actually with the HoloLens.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. I mean, it's not out for a while. And then finally, the big surprise, which Microsoft. It's interesting. Even during the event, Panos Panay, and you can watch the event. We have it on our Twit Live specials. Mike Elkin and I got up early and commented on it. But even Panos Panay was saying, "Hey, I wish you guys hadn't leaked everything. We got nothing to show you except." And out of nowhere, nobody knew Microsoft was going to do their first laptop, the Microsoft Surface Book. Very interesting technology, the hinge, the smart wire. I ordered one.
Oh, you did?
Oh, of course, immediately.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, that hinge got me. I was like, oh, that is interesting looking. Yeah.
So we'll review it. It'll come out October 26th. The muscle wire is cool because it is a physical latch, but you release it electronically. There's a key on the keyboard. You press it. And what happens is when that wire is electrified, it shrinks, kind of like me in the swimming pool, and it pulls those latches in, and then, this is the funniest thing, it makes a recorded click.
Oh, really?
Because there's actually no clicking sound, but it plays a click, and that's how you know it's okay to lift the screen off.
Wow.
And that to me makes this very interesting. It will also come with a stylus, and the stylus, unlike Apple's, has an eraser on one end.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's the next step in these convertible laptops. I mean, do you think that the future is a laptop where the display always comes off to be a tablet?
No,
you know?
No, but I do think touch, and this is one way they've scooped Apple a little bit, and by the way, they talked a lot about Apple, the MacBook and the MacBook Pro, and they compared their products to them. Mostly because they don't want to compare them to Dell and Lenovo and HP. That would be embarrassing. But I do think Apple's got to deal with the fact that they are not probably ever going to have touch in OS X.
Yeah.
And I think touch, even on a computer, is becoming more and more important. Apple's decided we're going to have a touch-first OS, iOS, and we're going to have a non-touch desktop operating system. And I don't know, Microsoft might scoop them on that.
And if you see like kids growing up with iPads and tablets,
touch it.
I've seen younger kids get in front of a computer and go like that because they expect to do it.
Once you get used to it, it's hard to turn back. Anyway, we'll get these products, we'll review them for you as we always do. Let's see, what else was in the news? Did you see The Martian?
I did see The Martian opening weekend. Yep, had to see it.
Okay, if you haven't seen it yet, great movie. Don't worry about reading the book. For a long time I thought, oh, the book is better, you don't want to watch the spoiler in the movie. I'd have to say now, the book and the movie are equally great.
Yeah, I give a little edge to the book, especially if you're into science and math and things like that.
There's a lot more science in it.
Way more detail in the book, way more detail. And like, I mean, they can't put, however thick the book was, they can't put that into a 2-hour movie.
But they did is
it
was actually, the book lent itself to movie making well, because all I did is take out some of the incidents.
Yeah.
But they had, the rest of them were in there. They didn't short circuit anything.
The key with these book to movie translations, and I deal a lot of them with comic book movies. I mean, we're always talking about it all the time. Is did they get the spirit and the voice of the book across in the movie? And I think they totally did.
Absolutely. Matt Damon was brilliant casting for Mark Watney, the astronaut who's stranded on Mars. We won't tell you what happens. I'll tell you why I like this better than the book. And I love the book, and I interviewed Andy Weir. We have a great triangulation episode. He is a god. I hope he makes $1 billion on this movie.
Blogger to writer to movie maker.
Yeah, amazing story.
Yeah.
But so many bad things happen in the book. After a while, you felt like, oh, God, no, not that, not another one, not another one.
Yeah.
And maybe that was more accurate to what his experience would be.
Right.
But I liked in the movie that it was a little bit less, anyway, you'll watch.
The book was fatiguing, I agree with you. Because it was just like, oh, another problem.
Oh, my God, I thought he was going to, oh, no.
But I think that, and they talk about it in the movie as well. Like, there's a point where Damon's talking to people, and he says, it's space. Everything will go wrong. Yeah. Like, you cannot control this environment.
And you cannot give up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the beauty of it. It's a wonderful movie, highly recommended. I also got a chance to see an early screening of Steve Jobs, the new Steve Jobs.
I'm jealous. Jealous. I want to see that badly. Oh.
It's hard for us as geeks to see this movie, especially for me. I knew many of the people, the big characters in this are John Scully, Andy Hertzfeld, Steve Jobs, of course, and Joanna Hoffman, who was the PR person behind these launches. It's 3 launches, the original Macintosh launch, which is shot, by the way, on grainy 8mm film. Then they go to the first Next Cube launch, which is shot on 16mm film, and finally digital video for the launch of the Bondi Blue iMac. And then you don't ever see the launch. Right. What you see is the stuff behind the scenes before the launch.
All backstage, right?
All backstage. Look, I love Andrew Sorkin.
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin, yeah.
I don't know who Andrew is. Love Aaron Sorkin. I love Danny Boyle, one of the great directors, Train Spotting, Slumdog Millionaire. I mean, this guy's brilliant. Yep. But don't go see this thinking you're seeing a biography. There is so much made-up stuff in here, it's almost painful.
Well, I'm a huge Sorkin. It's funny because this crosses over a couple of things. Because of course I'm interested in technology. Of course the story of Steve Jobs is one that you can't ignore. But I'm also a huge Sorkin fan. Whether The West Wing, Sports
you'll
Night,
love this because Sorkin is at his. There are no Sorkinisms in it. Yep. He is at his best.
Well, and the reason why he's at his best is because Sorkin, as many like The Social Network and other movies and TVs he's done, at heart he's a playwright. And
this is a play.
Exactly, it's a 3-act play.
This should be a play.
It's
Shakespearean in its dialogue. It's brilliantly written. He's brilliant at that. But I imagine if you were Hamlet's buddy, you'd be kind of pissed off about Hamlet. Like, oh, come on. He never said to be or not to be. This is like that. Scully shows up at every one of these. Scully didn't talk to Jobs after the firing.
Right.
Wozniak had words put in his mouth. He says, I never said.
Right.
He says he likes the movie, but he also got $200,000 to consult on the movie.
Well,
not that he needs the money.
But again, this isn't a documentary. It's a fictional.
So that's the only thing I would say. See it as a great movie. Do not see it, and this is what worries me, do not see it as a biography of Jobs.
Exactly.
It's not accurate, and you will get the wrong impression of who Steve Jobs is and what actually happened. This is not, even Sorkin says, I'm not a photographer. photographer. I'm a painter.
Yeah. Well, he said there's a great interview with him in this month's Wired, actually, where he talks about his process. And he said, okay, he had the Isaacson book, and that was his source material. But he's like, I don't want to just adapt this. I'm going to write a 3-act play, and I'm going to pull events from that book and just make them happen backstage at these announcements, which I think is
he does a lot of that. He puts words in different people's mouths that came from other times and stuff. I just feel like people are going to go see this, just as they did with the Social Network, and they saw it and they thought, oh, now I know Mark Zuckerberg. You don't. That was all made up. Same thing with Steve Jobs.
That's a great movie, though. That's a
great movie. And I think Danny Boyle's brilliant. We're going to I'm going to interview Danny Boyle tomorrow if you'll still have me. And we'll put this on the next week's Screensavers.
Oh, I'm going to watch
so we will have an interview with the director, and I will bow down because both Aaron Sorkin and Danny Boyle are brilliant. And if this were about some guy named Steve Jonas, I would say great, brilliant, amazing movie. The problem is this is a movie that many of us know people who are in the movie, were there at these events. So it's a little harder for me. It's like I said, if you were a buddy of Macbeth's, you might say those 3 witches, that never happened. And it's kind of like that. But The Martian, definitely.
Yep, thumbs up for The Martian.
2 thumbs up.
How was Fassbender as Jobs? I'm a huge Fassbender fan.
He is a great actor.
He's great.
He's a brilliant actor. He's not Steve Jobs.
Well,
but people are
better
talking
than Ashton Kutcher?
Much. Oh, don't see this is not as this is a real film, well made. And Fassbender, people are already saying Academy Award. I think Kate Winslet also is quite good as Joanna
she's
Hoffman.
great.
So it's absolutely worth seeing. You know the guy. Do you know Andy Hertzfeld?
I don't know him personally.
Love Andy. The guy playing Andy Hertzfeld does a dead ringer. Even to his vocal mannerisms, he looks exactly like him. It's like he's doing an impression of Andy Hertzfeld, much more so than Fassbender did of Jobs. It's worth seeing for that. Although, again, if you know Andy, I can only imagine we should talk to Andy and see what he thought of the movie. A lot of Steve's closest circle, like his widow. By the way, they never mention wife or children at all.
Well, isn't Lisa a big
that one they mention. It's all about Lisa, but they never mention that 8 years ago he got married. He had his own kids. Lisa lived with them for 4 years. When I met Steve Jobs, I spent the weekend with him and his family, and Lisa was there, and they were a loving family. This was in '94, 4 years.
Well, the dramas around.
Don't get me started.
The dramas around Lisa, and so it always is.
And that pissed off most of Jobs' inner circle, because a lot of that was like, this is not the man we knew. So I think Johnny Ive's not going to see it. I don't think Lorene's going to see it. I think a lot of the people who are closest to Steve would not want to see it because they have a memory of a guy, a real person.
It's so soon, too. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, these are events that happened in our lifetimes.
It's too recent.
It's weird.
Too soon.
Yeah. So.
But it's worth seeing. It's good. You'll see it because you love Sorkin, you love Boyle. All right, we are ready for, I think, let me just check my cheat sheet here. Yes, we are ready for our question of the day. Let's see. And all the way from Dover, PA, William's on the line. Hi, William. So what's your question?
So I have one of the original Nexus 7 tablets from 2012, and it's running Lollipop, and it can go anywhere from bearable to unusable. So I was wondering if you had any suggestions for maybe how to either speed that up or if I'd be better off moving it back to a version before Lollipop.
You're in luck, William, because we have, in fact, Mr. Ron Richards of All About Android, who is the expert on Android stuff.
I don't know if I'm the expert, but all right, so it's running Lollipop. Do you know exactly what version number you're on?
Not offhand.
Okay, if you want to check the tablet to see what version of Lollipop you're on.
Does it make a difference?
Yes, it does. You want to upgrade to 5.1.1.
The most recent.
The most recent, because that actually specifically improved performance on Nexus 7s coming out right out of the gate, more so than 5.01.
I too had this is the 2012 Nexus 7. I have both that and the 2013. I'm running 5.1 of the 2013, runs great. That's fine. But I did remember how sluggish the 2012 got. I found that got better with an upgrade because they didn't have trim turned on, and the SSD, the storage, was getting, I guess, like, it's not fragmented, but something like that, and it was slowing down and putting, I think it was KitKat, I can't remember.
It was 4.3 that added
4.3. Yeah. All of a sudden, that improved the performance. It gave me another year out of that thing. You know, should he go to Marshmallow?
I would not. Well, 2012 Nexus 7s aren't supported by Marshmallow.
You can't.
So you won't. Yeah.
Okay.
So the 2012 Nexus 7, unfortunately, now you're at a dead end once you get up to 5.1.1. That said, 5.1.1 should show some improvement. I wouldn't recommend going back to KitKat, but if you're open to experimenting, you might want to try putting Cyanogen on it and see how that performs.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So some people have had better performance with Cyanogen as opposed to this.
You only paid $229 for this thing. You've gotten what 3 years of good service.
It's a great tablet.
I love it.
Yeah, I like using my devices as long as I can. You know.
Sure. Well, that's only sensible.
Yeah.
So yeah, this might be a good opportunity to root it and ROM it.
Yep. Try to experiment with Cyanogen. There's some other ROM packages that are out there. If you Google Nexus 7 ROMs, there's a couple articles that kind of outline some of the other more kind of fringe ROMs that you can experiment with. But of course, we all know Cyanogen is the most kind of stable of the.
I love Cyanogen.
Yeah.
So you don't expect the world from it, but you probably can get it to a usable state.
Right.
What do you do with it?
Just check email, use it to check my calendar at work, play games here and there. It's just sometimes it's literally I just have to hold the power button down and shut it down because I can't get anything out of it.
Here's a question: when you're not using it, do you keep it powered on?
Generally, yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually a great thing. What a lot of people might not realize is that when you're not using your tablet, keep it plugged in, keep it powered on, put it to the side overnight, and actually Android is set up to do optimization when it's idle.
Oh, interesting.
Especially on the Nexus 7, and that has a lot to do with trim and some of the other stuff that's working in the background.
So it's running in the background.
It's running in the background to try to optimize and move data around because with these flash storage devices, you've only got so many read writes before it starts to age and get to a point where it's not going to be able to write as fast and quickly as you might want it to. So definitely give it that time to kind of clean itself up. Generally I plug in my devices overnight, and usually that's enough time. But yeah, no, I moved on from I had a Nexus 7 2012, and this past Christmas I got the Nexus 9, and I haven't touched the Nexus 7 since.
I'm using my 2013 Nexus 7 as a in-studio timer for the radio show. I wrote a program on App Inventor, and it just sits there doing that day in, day out. Every once in a while I'll check notifications on the thing. Those were really nicely made.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, William. There's no reason after 3 years to abandon it if you can just get it to work. By the way, let me see your T-shirt. Who's that on your T-shirt there?
It's a mashup between Doctor Who and Archer.
The Archer version of Doctor Who. I love it.
Very cool.
William, nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Longtime fan.
Nice, William. We appreciate it. William from Dover, PA. How would you like to be on the show? Well, take a watch.
Need tech help? The new screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Our show today brought to you by a great sponsor. We love Braintree. If you are doing a mobile app or a website and you need a payment solution, please, braintreepayments.com/twit. It's a full stack solution, supports every possible platform, including, of course, iOS, Android, JavaScript. It works with Node.js, PHP, Python, Perl, Ruby, everything you would want it to work with. And the best part is it lets you accept every form of payment that your customers want, including Apple Pay, including Android Pay, and credit cards, and PayPal, and even Bitcoin. And it does it securely, transparently, and it does it in a way your users will love. And really, that's what it's all about, is giving your users the best possible experience. And the references for Braintree are amazing. Uber uses Braintree. You know that great experience where you get out of the car and you're done? That's Braintree. Lyft uses Braintree. When you got two competitors using the same payment system, you know it's got to be good. Airbnb and Hotels Tonight, they also use Braintree. I'll tell you, use GitHub. Of course you do if you're a developer. GitHub uses Braintree. That's probably recommendation enough. We spoke with Braintree's general manager for mobile, Ankur Araya. You remember that Braintree hired my good friend Harper Reed, bought his company.
Right. Yep. And
that's the buyable pin platform that Pinterest is using. We asked him about buyable pins and how they developed with Pinterest. Take a listen.
The holy grail for Pinterest was to figure out a way to integrate a commerce experience into the core Pinterest product discovery experience. And so buyable pins is the ability for Pinterest users to actually buy products that they like directly through the Pinterest interface, right? So instead of having to click away to a merchant's checkout page, that buying experience now is squarely within the Pinterest UI. And so they've got some really great retailers that have signed up for this, Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, among others. And so we've been working with Pinterest for the last several months to help power this experience.
That's really the Modest technology, the company that Harper Reed was a founder of, built in right away into Braintree. I mean, these guys they're knocking it out of the park. No matter what you're selling, Braintree has fast payouts, continuous support, from your first dollar to your billionth. You'll see fewer abandoned carts. You'll see more sales. You'll see, most importantly, happy customers. I want you to check it out for yourself. They've got a sandbox you can play with. They will even do the integration for you because they have amazing support, fraud protection, of course, the best. BraintreePayments.com/NSS. I cannot wait. We're going to talk to the creator of the Onion protocol that is the underlying technology behind Tor, the Onion router. Dr. Paul Syverson's coming up next. But first, Jason Calacanis, hey, he's back with a great tool for managing your social media. Watch.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis with a little tip for you if you're running a small business or if you're just a social media freak like I am. I'm Jason on Twitter and I host This Week in Startups, you know. So I'm frequently sharing clips and photos, but I want to put them on my Facebook page, my Twitter handle, and I might have 2 or 3 Facebook pages, a LinkedIn page, etc. And it's a real pain in the neck to cross-post. Well, the best cross-posting tool I have is Buffer app. So go check out Buffer app. It lets you put in 7 to 8 different accounts and share one time to all of them. And you can take an old post and rebuffer it, which means you can send it again and schedule it for another time. If you have 20 posts you want to do in a row, but you want to add space to them, you can just do, 20 different updates right now, and it will automatically put a little bit of time between each post if you hit, instead of publish it now, the buffer. So buffer's like $10 a month. Buffer app, it's a really brilliant product. It works on your phone and it works on the desktop. It works with a toolbar, and you can post to many, many, many different accounts with it. I love it.
And we love Jason Calacanis. He was a lot of fun last week. He taught me Brooklyn.
He's always fun.
Hey, I want to use that Brooklyn. It's really good. All right, I'm very excited to welcome Dr. Paul Syverson on Skype with us. He's the creator of the Onion protocol, the basis of the Tor router system. Dr. Syverson, thank you so much for joining us on the new Screensavers. First of all, where were you when you created Onion, and what was the reasoning? What was the need that you were solving?
Well, I think it's useful to understand how we do our work at the Naval Research Laboratory, or at least how I do my work. A lot of times we are, I'm tasked to come up with new useful science and technology for the Navy. And often it's kind of a chicken and egg problem. You are thinking up a cool scientific idea or technical idea, and then you're also thinking about how this could be of use for the Navy. What we were thinking about as what would be useful would be that if you want to be able to go out on the open internet and sometimes not have people know, oh, this is somebody from the Navy looking at these things, or if you're traveling around somewhere and you need to connect back to your office and you don't want the people who run the ISP for the local hotel to say, oh, here's a Navy guy here, and of course that might be useful for corporations or other people as well. But those were sort of the original motivations, and then kind of inherent to the whole Onion routing philosophy and design was that if this is a Navy-only system, then stuff going into it is going to be going to the Navy. Stuff coming out of it is from the Navy, and that's what you're trying to protect. So you need to be carrying traffic for other people. You need to be carrying traffic for diverse people, people who might be disease survivors or just corporate folk who want to investigate their competitors' sites without telegraphing what they're interested in, or all kinds of different people. And so you need to be carrying traffic for them, but they're have diverse trust, and so they're not necessarily going to trust you. So you also have to let them run part of the infrastructure. And that also means you can't just hand them a blob of code and say, hey, we wrote this code, trust us, it's good. So you need to have it be open source and well documented, and such that they can confirm that it's okay. And for this reason, our code, the first publication release we got for code was 1996. We were basically open source before it was a term of art.
Yeah.
And that was inherent to the security design.
Yeah, brilliant, really. Is it kind of, and forgive me, security through obscurity? I mean, the reason it gives you anonymity is because you're going through multiple servers. Isn't that kind of that?
What I like to think of it as is what you're doing is what provides two things. we're used to thinking about confidentiality and authentication for data, and that's what you get if you say go to a encrypted website. You know that it's the place you want. You know that the traffic you're getting from them is actually, their stuff. And you know that you're talking to them, assuming it's properly encrypted. Well, we have the same properties except for the routing information. To some extent, I think anonymity is sometimes people load more into that than they should. One of the main ways I try to describe it is to say that what we're really about is separating identification from routing. So the bits get back and forth without automatically telling the other end that you want to talk to or anybody along the route. If I'm logging into my workstation at work over Tor, well, of course I want to authenticate. I want to identify myself, but I don't want the network to know.
Interesting. It's the bits in between that you're most worried about, not the endpoints. In fact, that's what a lot of people talk about as a security flaw or a weakness in Tor routing is the endpoints, right? If you own the endpoint, you can see what's going on.
Well, you can see where things are going. You can see the website that somebody is maybe going to. If they're also making an encrypted connection, then all you're going to see is somebody or other made an encrypted connection there. But unlike ordinary routing, you won't know who it is. You won't know where it came from. You won't know the source IP address. You just know the endpoint.
Right.
Or if you see somebody connecting to the Tor network, well, you can see them connecting. There's ways that can also be obscured, but you see them connecting, but you don't know where they're going to because, as you noted, it hops all around. There's currently, I forget, 6,000 or 7,000 volunteer-run relays all over the world, and it hops through 3 of these relays to get to the destination.
And that's really helpful. I had never heard it described this way. What you're really doing is encrypting the routing information.
That's right. It's confidentiality and authentication of the routing. A lot of times people focus just on the sort of hiding it, but it also provides better integrity for routing than you get otherwise. You can't, depending on where you're going, if you go to a .onion address, which also sort of allows the server to use Tor as opposed to just the client, then it's going to be the case that because you're going to this Tor type address, there's no possibility of anybody noticing the DNS lookup or hijacking it because you never go to DNS, and you can't have if somebody does say a BGP hijack or something like that, it's not going to tell them as much because they don't know where the stuff started that they're hijacking.
You first published this protocol in '96. Are you amazed that here we are almost 20 years later, and it's actually captured the public imagination? I was watching Mr. Robot the other day, and in the very first episode, he talks about Tor and the weakness of the endpoint, and it's like, wow, this is a mainstream project. Are you amazed?
Yeah, I've seen it. It was on. I think it was on the Old Numbers show, and I've seen it in a couple of different things. And I was just at a Tor developers meeting a week ago, and there were 100 people there, and it was, it's kind of
amazing.
A bit overwhelming. I remember when it was just me and 2 other people, and so.
I've asked this question of Phil Zimmerman, and I'm sure you're going to give me the same answer. PGP, of course, was widely used not only by those of us who wanted encryption and privacy, but also by criminals. The Silk Road, I think, used Tor.
That was, there was that great, and actually Wired again had that great article about Silk Road, and the Onion router was used both by the folks administering Silk Road as well as law enforcement to catch them.
Right, it was part of the dark web.
It was a key part of it, yeah.
So does that concern you that it sometimes can be used for ill?
Well, of course, I don't want things I developed to be used for ill, but I mean, to some extent, this is true of everything, be it, from hammers to automobiles. I remember reading about how in the early 20th century in Detroit, the police were very concerned because the criminals had this amazing new technology, and they would arrive at a crime scene and the criminals were just gone. What the criminals had was automobiles. The police didn't have them yet. So
Damn
they
it!
had to, right. So I mean, but the important thing to recognize is that the criminals are doing fine without Tor. There's million node botnets you can set up, and if you aren't worried about it, you can actually do very well. And unlike the Tor relays, which are publicly listed, you can just break into computers all over the place, and you're not advertising the fact that you're using those computers.
Right.
The criminals have that, but I want the say abuse victim who uses Tor to try to put her life back together and contact her bank and to have just as good protection as the person who is trying to abuse her online.
We're talking to Dr. Paul Syverson. He's a mathematician at the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, and in the mid-'90s, along with Goldschlag and Reed, came up with the Onion protocol, which is widely used now for anonymity and the Onion router. I wonder if there is a next generation Tor. Are you working on something along these lines, or has your work gone into another area?
No, I mean, that's my primary area of research and continues to be, and there's lots of people working on it. It's not just us at the Naval Research Lab, people who work for the Tor Project Incorporated, but there's also, because Tor is so well documented and open source, and because people involved with Tor run around to all the universities everywhere and encourage people to look at it and say, look, here's some things we're not sure. Maybe there's a way that this could be more secure, or please examine for any vulnerabilities, and then to encourage everybody to publish these things, because in the long run, that makes the whole thing more secure. And we have lots of questions: how to improve performance, how to improve security. We're always working on it.
And we really have to thank you, especially for having the insight in the mid-'90s, as you say, long before open source was a catchword, long before the GPL, to make this an open source project. And I think you're absolutely right. If you're going to trust something, it has to be open, it has to be distributed. And I'm going to give you a chance to address this as well, because that's one thing that comes up all the time. All this came out of the Naval Research Labs. There must be a government backdoor. Is there?
Well, not to the best of my knowledge. And I mean, the answer is, the key answer, and I kind of touched on this before, you don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust us. Tor is probably the most scrutinized code, perhaps on the planet. I mean, it's not just that it's open source, it's that it's well documented, and people are encouraged to look at it all the time. And I'm not in security, to never say never, but I think it would be very hard for somebody to put something in without it somehow being recognized. Tor now also is one of the first sort of things they use, what's called deterministic builds. So other people, if you're worried about the Tor compiled binaries, I mean, you can always download the source itself, but a lot of people don't know how to do that. So you might be concerned, what if the Tor project, what if their binaries are somebody has messed with their compilers? Well, they now have a deterministic build systems, so other people can make sure that the binary that's compiled from the Tor source code that they do is the same as what Tor does. And I don't know how many people realize this, but that's not typically the case for binaries. So that's just another layer of making sure that that the trust is there and validated and verified by people all over.
And of course, everybody from the EFF to DuckDuckGo has Tor running Onion routers, and there's lots of places you can use this with people that you might trust, more than you would maybe trust me.
Sorry, and Facebook now has
Facebook.
Facebook has not only, do they have it, but you have it for their users, but they have an Onion service. So they have a .onion address. And IETF just recently approved .onion as a reserved top-level domain. But Facebook has this to improve the security and experience for their users. And they wanted to make it so that there are places in the world where you can't get to Facebook directly, but if you can go over Tor, then you can do that. And by having the .onion addresses, then it goes straight to Facebook. And again, you don't have to worry about DNS shenanigans or anything like that.
The world in some ways has come to you. We've gotten much more concerned these days about privacy, about security. Everybody, even non-sophisticated users, are very aware of these issues. And I think they would like me to ask you, what do you do to protect your privacy and security? Is there anything special or unique or that you would recommend?
Well, I don't want to be in the position of I'm a researcher. I have a PhD in philosophy. I don't.
What?
But,
what?
Well, philosophically, what should you do to have safe browsing?
I don't want to claim that. I mean, of course, I could say use Tor. It helps protect you, but it's not magic. It just doesn't encrypt the internet. You don't just download it and then you're all safe. So I mean, there's many other things that one should do operationally, but that's sort of, I'll just say outside of my bailiwick. I'm mostly going to be commenting here about, the things that are in my published research. So
fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us again, for making Tor open source, for giving really the world a huge and valuable protocol that is, boy, there's been no better time than right now to use Tor. Your work has become very, very valuable to us all. So, Dr. Syverson, I thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's been great.
My pleasure, Dr. Paul Syverson. I think I'm hoping we're going to get a chance to spend a little bit more time with you and give everybody a chance to ask Dr. Syverson questions at a later date on triangulation. Am I right, Tanya? I'm hoping. I'm going to have to do some brushing up. This is a heavy-duty subject. Just 2 weeks. All right. That gives me 2 weeks to figure out what the hell to ask. All right. Hey, we're going to take a break.
All right.
Jono Bacon is here. You know Jono from the Ubuntu Project, community manager there. He wants you to have a perfect life. How? He's going to tell us right now.
My name is Jono Bacon, and I'm a community strategist. I want to share a tip for how you can have the perfect life. We spend most of our time only focusing on urgent stuff that has to be done that day, whereas really what we should be focusing on is the important things. There's a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that talks all about this. So here's my tip. Every Sunday night when you're sat at home before you're about to go to work, think about the different roles that you play in your life, husband or wife, employee, a member of a local book club, whatever it might be, and think about the important things that you want to do to move that particular role forward that particular week. And then what you need to do is break that down into a set of to-do list items. Go to Google Calendar. There is a to-do list plugin in Google Calendar where you can add them for each specific day. So one day you may say, I want to buy my wife flowers. On the second day, you may say, I want to build a relationship with a particular colleague at work. And then you'll start focusing on the really important things and not just responding to all of those stupid emails. So here's the question. What are you going to do next?
Thank you, Jono Bacon. Right after that, we're going to talk about astronauts beneath the sea. Project Nemo. First, though, let me talk about Prosper.com. This is where the internet gets interesting. We love talking about companies that are changing the way we live using technology, using the internet. Prosper is a perfect example. It's a peer-to-peer lending marketplace. It couldn't really exist very well without the internet. The problem is, if you need a quick infusion of cash to, I don't know, to pay off your credit cards, or maybe you start a business, fix up your house, where do you go? Most of the time, you probably go to your credit cards, but the interest rates they're charging now is probably not financially advisable, probably a bad idea. And you don't want to go to Uncle Louie, because he's never going to let you hear the end of it. And do you really want to put on a suit and tie to go to a bank? Why don't you go to Prosper.com? You can borrow up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days at a low fixed rate. It's kind of like Uber or Airbnb for borrowing. They bring together people who have money to lend with people who want to borrow money, and it is as hot can be right now. With Prosper.com, you can borrow money for just about anything you want. I think you should pay off those high-rate credit cards. If you've got a lot of credit card debt, it's just killing you. This will consolidate your credit cards, get it down to a reasonable amount that you pay off. It could change your life, but you could also even, plan a vacation or start a business. It's the better way to get cash you need at a low interest rate. So I want you to check it out. Go to prosper.com/twit. Up to $35,000 in your account in as few as 5 days. That's PROSPER, prosper.com/twit. Prosper.com/twit. Now we're ready to go under the sea. Are you ready to go under the sea? Project Nemo.
Let's dive in.
Stands for NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operations. David Cohen is joining us right now. David?
Hello.
Are you under the sea right now?
No, unfortunately, I'm not. I wish I still was, but I'm at home now.
Does Skype work underwater? Have we found that?
I think it does. I think it does.
It does, yeah.
Actually, that's a good question. You have internet under there?
Oh, we do, absolutely, yeah. I did several outreach events, actually, using Skype.
Oh, fun.
So the bandwidth's okay?
Yeah, it's
probably
actually
right by the trunks that are underwater, right? You can just tap right, just plug
right
the
in.
cable right in, right?
So we call you an aquanaut, not an astronaut.
That is correct, yes.
But
we're
it's-
underwater aquanauts.
But it's going to be an astronaut, right?
Yeah.
That's the point of it.
That is a big aspect of Nemo, yes, is we take astronauts down and give them the experience of living in this extreme environment in a small confined space. A lot of times we do that before their mission. And some of the astronauts that actually flown to space station, we'll take them to Nemo and give them an opportunity to lead and be the commander,
neat.
kind of in preparation of commanding a space station mission.
How long did you spend down there?
We were there for 14 days.
2 weeks.
Jeez.
2 weeks.
Wow.
But isn't it just like living in an RV?
Pretty much, yeah. It's about the same size.
So,
RV with six or five other people. Yeah.
Couldn't you just put it in the desert? I mean, why underwater?
Well, so we there are several aspects that we can test underwater. One thing, being underwater, if we're on the desert, and we've done that with some other analog type missions, but being underwater, it puts us literally in an extreme environment where we're saturated divers and we can't just surface any longer.
Oh, okay. Because of the bends,
right?
You have to you got that nitrogen in your bloodstream. You're down there. You can't just come up.
No, it's about an 18-hour decompression process to come up. So
okay, so that makes it a little more real. But you're not in a diving suit the whole time. Once you go inside, you're breathing air, right? I mean, you're
right.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah, but it is more isolative. I understand that.
Well, NASA has put astronauts underwater back to the 60s, right? I mean, this is something that they've been doing for a long time because it simulates.
Well,
a
I remember
lot
in
of
the Mercury
weightlessness.
mission, but you'd be in your spacesuit and you'd be kind of moving around. This isn't quite that, is it, David?
No, this is a little bit different, and we have been doing that. We still do that in the neutral buoyancy laboratory. We put them in spacesuits underwater, just for a few hours at a time, though. But this is a little different in that we live there for days at a time.
So it's also to get the crew used to living in constrained quarters, in a hostile environment. I mean, I just saw The Martian. I know what that's like. You're like in the Hab, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Did you love that movie?
I did, yeah. It was a very good movie.
Yeah.
And a great book. I actually took that book with me to Nemo to read it while I was down there.
Perfect.
It was absolutely a perfect book to bring.
Andy Weir will be very happy to hear that. It's amazing what's happened.
Did the pages get wet?
No. And books don't ever suffer the bends, right? I mean, you're okay on that.
As far as we know, they don't.
So how close is this to simulating the ISS? Because that's really what this is for, is to get people used to being in the International Space Station.
That's true. Luca Parmitano is one of the astronauts with us, and he's flown to the space station before. He's the only one who actually has, and he said that being in there, it actually felt very much like the Russian service module. So
I don't know. That's good or bad. I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. What's it smell like in there?
When you're down at that depth, you're about 2.5 times the atmospheric pressure you are on the surface.
Man.
And for some reason, you kind of lose your sense of smell. So
that's a good thing, probably.
Yeah. You don't smell stuff unless it's really, really strong.
I got it. And whereabouts is, or maybe it's top secret, I don't know. Whereabouts is this?
No, the Aquaria Free Space is in Tavernier, Florida. That's the surf side, top side part of it. And the underwater habitat part, Aquarius itself, is just off Key Largo, about maybe 6 miles, 5.5 miles off Key Largo.
Now, before we say this is like an RV, I think Luca almost drowned, right? I mean, he got in a little trouble.
That's true. Yeah, during his second spacewalk, he had some water coming into his helmet. And actually started filling the helmet up with water.
Did he do what Mark Watley did and put duct tape over?
Well, I think he wanted to get the water out as opposed to keep it in.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Wow, it's so cool. And so so you're doing EVAs as well. You're not just sitting in this hab. You're actually going out and doing extra vehicular activity.
Yeah, that's correct. We did an EVA every day.
Wow.
So, part of our mission was simulating an asteroid. We all did EVAs those days. We did a couple days of missions simulating to a mission to Phobos. So we did EVAs every day then. And then we did Mars surface EVAs, and we took turns going out every day doing that.
I think, I've learned from talking to project managers at NASA and from watching movies like The Martian, I must confess, that really the space is hostile. And that the only way you can really do this is to just imagine every eventuality and practice like the Dickens. And so this makes a lot of sense. It puts you in as close to this environment as you could be, and then you just practice and you practice. You almost to desensitize you in a way, right?
And somewhat, yeah. And the crews who fly afterwards or who have flown before, say that this is the closest thing they've ever felt to actually being in the space station.
And of course, you also want to have automatic reactions to crises. Do you simulate crises in the HAB? I'm sorry, I'm calling it the HAB. I apologize.
No, that's what we called it.
Oh, good. Okay.
We simulated things a few times here and there. We did a few medical emergencies.
Yeah.
So nothing, that required seconds of reaction, but something that required definitely, a focused over, several minutes to figure out what the problem was.
And you could see, I mean, it's so important that when you're in this environment that you stay calm, that you say, I know how to handle this. So you have the confidence to handle it. You don't freak out. Right. And this is the kind of training that can make I would imagine can make a big difference. Somebody told me you're using the HoloLens too.
We did, yes. That was so we did all these EVAs there, but we also tested stuff. We had experiments on the inside, and HoloLens was one of the big ones. So I think we tested that almost every day, taking turns.
Lucky. It's called
testing, right?
Testing it. I'm playing Call of Duty, testing it.
So how cool is it actually to use in that kind of environment? Is it everything Microsoft has told us about, or?
It was cool. We didn't have any games, unfortunately, but it was very, very cool. We did HAB maintenance. So when we go down there, we have 2 HAB technicians that come with us who are the professionals who know the habitat inside out, and they keep it running on a day-to-day basis. But we actually did some of their tasks by having somebody on the top side at the watch desk talk us through it. So they would see what we see, and he would draw things in the air in the 3D virtual world and point to things and tell us where to go and what to do.
It's like that the demo when Microsoft announced it. There's the woman fixing the plumbing and the guy telling her what to do, but underwater, right?
It was exactly like that. And in another sense, I had our medical officer from the Navy actually talked me through a medical exam, a neurological exam of one of the astronauts. And I have no medical experience whatsoever. So he, on the other end of the HoloLens could talk me through and draw where to put the stethoscope and what to listen to and all this stuff. And actually able to produce a pretty good medical report for him just using the HoloLens.
That's so cool.
It was cool.
That's very cool.
So at least your title used to be Spacewalk Officer. Is that still your title?
That's still, that's pretty much my title.
I like that.
That's a cool business card to hand out at parties, right? That's.
I want to be. What was RATS?
RATS is another type of analog. Like NEMO is our underwater analog. RATS is our one in the desert. So we have put HABs and rovers out in the desert and tested them out there.
David, will you get a chance at some point to go on a mission, to go into space?
Oh, I would love to. Right now, I'm not actually in the astronaut corps. I'm a space officer. I'm a flight controller, so I sit in mission control.
Oh, cool.
All
right. Well, that's fun too. Yeah.
Well, so for somebody who for astronauts, something like this, is this a mandatory part of the training process, or is this just more for experimentation and learning?
It's not mandatory. Not everybody does it. It's more for experimentation, learning. Like for commanders, helps them get some more command experience in an extreme environment. So most of the astronauts go through it, but not all of them. So
neat. And you're an expert diver. You're actually a rescue diver, I understand. So
I am, yes.
Yeah. So how deep is this? And what are you wearing? A traditional kind of a scuba gear, or are you using special scuba gear, or is your mix different? What are you doing?
When we go down to it and we come back up at the end of the mission, we use scuba gear. But during the mission, we used a surface-supplied diving helmet. We use a super light 37 diving helmet, kind of like you see commercial divers or Navy divers use.
Yeah.
Like that picture there. And so we have an umbilical that reaches to the HAB.
I see.
So we use our own air supply for that.
So you're not all that deep. Well, you must be if it takes 18 hours to decompress.
Yeah, well, the habitat sits in about 65 feet, and when we go out and venture out in the EVAs, exploring, doing our Mars exploration, we would get down to about 100 feet, 95 to 100 feet.
Wow.
So, but that length of time, even at 65 feet, it's a long decompression.
So as somebody who likes to dive, do you still scuba dive for fun?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. This must be fun for somebody who likes to dive. This must be so
Oh,
cool.
absolutely. This is the best thing you could possibly. For somebody who works in the space program and likes to dive, you can't get any
This
better.
is it. This is the perfect job. David, it's great to talk to you. I'm sure that's just a vase over your right shoulder, right? That's not the oxygen providing, right?
That is an old air tank.
Oh, it is. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We use those to power some of our tools, but yeah. That's...
It's so nice to meet you, David. And I just, you know what? Thanks to everybody at NASA who works so hard. I know it's challenging, but I just feel like we're starting to turn a corner here. I grew up watching from Mercury on, watching these amazing things, and it all sort of felt like it came to an end after Apollo, and then the space shuttle, and now that's come to the end, and we're so excited about the future of exploration in space, and I just thank everybody at NASA for doing such an amazing job and really making us proud. It's just really it's pretty exciting. So thank you, David. I appreciate your time.
And thanks for the opportunity to talk.
Yeah, David Cohen. He is a spacewalk expert. I like it. From NASA, he is part of the NASA NEMO project, joining us via Skype from Florida. Thank you, David. Take care.
Thank you.
Boy, that's exciting.
That's cool stuff.
You know, I'm hoping people see The Martian. You know, it turns out, I don't know if this is true, but I read this on BuzzFeed, it's got to be true, that there are a lot of people think Martian is a true story or based on a true story.
Yeah,
that's like they're tweeting like, wow, when did that happen? But I'm hoping...
It's things like that make me worry.
I know, but I'm hoping that what it really does, that movie and the book and just what's happening right now, kind of gets people excited about space exploration.
Yeah, well, I think you said it best. Where like a couple of years, 10 years ago or so, especially after everything with terrorism, all that stuff happened, you know, the focus kind of moved away from space exploration and science in that regard. But folks like Neil deGrasse Tyson, books
People
like
are
The
getting
Martian,
excited
books like
again.
7 Eves by Neil Stephenson. I mean, I really think like, you know, and we know it's, you know, we joke with Star Trek that it's the final frontier, but it really is, you know, everyone's eyes are on Mars, and how are we going to get there?
And we look at what Elon Musk is doing at SpaceX. What people are doing is we're moving forward.
Yep.
And I meant it when I said to David, I feel like this is the best of us. Yep. This is the part of humanity, and it's international, it's cooperative, and that was the nice thing about The Martian too, right? The cooperation. And I just feel like it's the best of us. So I love it that he's doing that, and I want to see more of this. We'll cover space a lot more on the show because we enjoy it. All right, now we're going to take a break, and coming up in just a little bit, another call for help. But first, Megan Maroney will help you talk. She could talk to the Chromebook. Let's see how.
I am Megan Maroney, host of i5 for the iPhone, Tech News Tonight, and iOS Today. If you love Google Chrome and you're looking for a cheap and powerful laptop, consider a Chromebook. You would be amazed at how much they can do. You can even turn them into your own personal Jarvis by controlling them with your voice. OK Google is the personal digital assistant built into Android. I like OK Google because she doesn't pretend to be human like Siri or Cortana. OK Google just listens to me and does what I want without all that back talk and robot wry humor. You can enable OK Google so your Chromebook is always listening to you. But this is an experimental feature, and Google warns that all of its experimental features may change, break, or disappear, or explode your Chromebook at any time. To access these features, go to Chrome:///flags, that's FLAGS. Scroll down to enable simulated hardware OK Google features. Then click Restart Now. Follow the prompts and you can start OK Googling to your Chromebook. Of course, if you have an Android phone or a tablet or an Android Wear watch and any other Android device nearby, you'll be OK Googling everything. To turn the feature off, go back to Chrome:///flags and click Disable.
Thank you, Megan Maroney. Of course, you can see Megan Monday through Friday on Tech News Tonight every afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 2300 UTC on twit.tv. She also hosts i5 for the iPhone and joins me every week for iOS Today. We talk about iOS. We got to come up, and I'm a little upset that Motorola apparently is abandoning some of the specialized features in the Moto X phone, things like Moto Assist.
Yep.
One of the best things about Motorola is you could record your own trigger phrase.
Yep.
Why don't more people do that? Why is everybody, and the problem is I can't say, hey, S word, hey, okay, G word, hello, C word, Cortana. It's because then everybody gets triggered at home.
It's one of my favorite things in all about Android is every time we say, "Okay, Google," and either
you did it.
The desk it all they light up, or people at home watching it all lights up. So.
At least Siri, now you can train it with your voice, and I've noticed that's really helped a lot because it used to trigger a lot.
I imagine that's going to come sooner or later. Although I can't imagine Google not wanting that to be the trigger word for Google now. But I think that customization would be nice.
I used to make the Moto X. I would say, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi," and I felt like there was no chance that was going to happen unless I go to a Star Wars movie, and then But Brian, are we ready? Yes. Call for help time. Brian from Minnesota. Hello. There he is in the big screen. Hey, Brian.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Huh? You had to say it, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You had to do it.
Yeah.
Are you a map fan? I'm getting some sort of map vibe from you there.
Oh, that's for my kids.
Yeah.
Hopefully teach them about the world and different states.
Maps are awesome.
Maps are great.
Yeah.
We need more maps. Maps are great. Well, what can we do for you?
Well, I got a couple of 6-year-old Toshiba Protege R100s. They have Windows XPs on them, and I'm trying to see if maybe there's a possibility of putting the Google Chrome on there, like a Chrome OS.
I love for school, for education. The Chrome OS is amazing. The Chromebooks, I love the Chromebooks. I've really come around on that. I remember having an argument with Sundar Pichai when they first released the Chromebooks.
Of all people to argue with.
Well, that was his bailiwick.
Yeah.
And I said, Sundar, I don't understand it. I don't know who would want this. Any computer has all the capabilities of a Chromebook, plus, because anything with Chrome browser on it can do everything a Chromebook can do. And he was very patient with me. He should have probably yelled at me because he got it. He said, no, I think you're going to see these things really have some value. And now I've come around. In fact, lately I've been telling people on the radio show, the old thinking was you need a computer, you got to buy a Windows or a Mac, right? And you need a general purpose operating system that could do anything in the world. And of course, general purpose operating systems are complex, they're prone to breakdown, they're security nightmares, and we don't need all that complexity. So I've come around. The Chromebook, it's simple. It's secure, and it does, 99% of what most people do. Most people just want to surf the net, do email, play some games, and they'll do that.
We're so cloud-based now, and with all these things being available through a browser, especially with what Google's doing by making all their applications browser-ready, it just now is the time to abandon the local storage and things like that.
Has Google ever open-sourced Chrome OS? Can I just download it and put it on a Toshiba?
Yeah, well, so that's the differential, is that you can't actually take Chrome OS as you know it, as what exists on Chromebooks that are for sale by Google and by other manufacturers, and put that on any device you want. Chrome OS is proprietary to Google and to those devices that are being sold.
And nobody's making drivers for a Toshiba Protege or whatever it is you've got there, Brian.
Exactly.
So you could even put it on there, but it wouldn't work because the hardware wouldn't know how to drive it.
And at its heart, though, all Chrome OS is a very scaled back version, a distribution of Linux with Google Chrome running all the applications. So really, I mean, you got a couple options. You can look at the Chromium, which is the open source version of Chrome, and there is a Chromium OS that you can install on your laptops. Now the challenge with this is that it's not supported. So it's not supported by Google, so it doesn't have all the proprietary Google kind of trademark kind of applications and things like that. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that Chrome OS has, and also it isn't as updated or maintained by Google. So if you're looking for a level of security or a level of kind of follow through, you're not going to get it from Chromium. But there are folks in the open source community that are
here's an
keeping
example.
it running. Yeah,
and this is from Brill in our chat room. This is a new project, Chromixium, that is designed to take Chromium, of course, and a stripped down version of Linux and put it together so that you would effectively get. Now, I don't know how far this project is, but you make an excellent point. I mean, you can roll your own.
Right.
What Linux would you suggest?
Well, I mean, Ubuntu has always been the kind of has kind of grown as the go-to Linux distribution. But if you're talking about a machine for your kids, there's some great Linux distributions that are modeled specifically for kids, right? There's the Qimo and the Ubuntu.
Okay, Qimo. How do you spell that?
Quimo.
Okay.
And that's kind of geared more towards younger children.
Right.
And that's
Edubuntu, I've heard of.
Yeah.
That's an Ubuntu for education.
Exactly,
basically.
exactly. And so these are versions of Linux that you can install on your laptop and be in a kid-friendly OS. And then all you really need is to install Chrome, and then you're off to the races, and you can do everything that you want to do with Chrome and Chrome OS.
Can you lock it down though? Because I mean, one of the reasons the Chromebook is so great is because you can't do all that other stuff. You can't run Tux Racer. You can't, you can't run a hex editor and modify the kernel and break the whole system. So can you lock Linux down?
I would be impressed if his kids are modifying that.
Oh, no. You'd be amazed at what kids, once they really set their mind to it. How old are your kids, William? Brian, I'm sorry.
6 and 10.
Oh, okay.
A 10-year-old. At 10, I was hacking. I was editing hex code to make the game.
See?
She's a very curious kid.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, are you familiar, Brian, with Linux? Have you used Linux, installed it?
No, I installed Red Hat maybe about 6 years ago. But that's about it.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things about the Chromebook that's so great is you don't have to know anything about Linux. You don't have to know anything about anything. If you can use a browser, you can use it.
Right. And I love the idea of recycling an old laptop and giving it a new life, but also balancing the amount of time and effort you're going to put into getting it to work with the fact that you could probably find a pretty good Chromebook for about $100 to $150 now.
That would probably, I hate to say it, run better than that old Toshiba.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other thing too. Is just because it's Chrome and it's Linux, it's not going to make a 10-year-old laptop run faster, unfortunately. But it's a fun project. I would definitely check out those kid flavors of Linux and see what you can come from that, because that's pretty neat. So.
Here's the beauty part. You could take one of them and mess with it. And if you get it to a point where you feel like it's good, you can image it and then put it on all the rest of them, since they're all the same hardware, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would play with one, but I think you're going to end up saying there's no substitute for Chrome OS.
Right. That's unfortunately, unfortunately, it's not as simple as just taking, buying the software package off the shelf and installing it on any machine. Google's made it a little more involved than that. So
I will.
But try that Chromixium. I'm going to try that.
Rubel, thank you for giving us this link, and I'm going to check out Chromixium. Yeah. It's the website is CHROMIXIUM.org. And I mean, it's a free download. This might be something worth trying on your Toshibas. The drivers are going to be the hard part.
Yeah, well, that's always the challenge. But it could be a fun project with your 10-year-old to say, hey, let's give this laptop a new life and see what happens.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Neat idea.
Thanks, guys.
Are you homeschooling them?
No.
But you just want to have this for them at home.
Yeah, they got some iPads, but I just thought it'd be kind of a fun project.
No, I think so. I think the iPad really doesn't encourage kids to explore. It's kind of a sealed box. I love the iPad, but I'm surprised when schools go out and they give kids iPads. I feel like that's so limiting. It's just one more screen for them to consume from. And I would love to see, I think a lot of schools now, Chrome OS is growing in schools. I would like to see more schools.
And there's something about sitting down in front of a keyboard and writing and typing, admittedly I grew up doing that. I mean, I remember writing my papers in WordPerfect in middle school and having to learn all that arcane programming and things like that. But there's something as opposed to touching on an iPad. I think for our future writers, I think we need to train them with that.
Do you think kids are going to need a keyboard when they grow up?
I think there's no replacing a physical keyboard. I think
I'm kind of with you.
Yeah, a virtual keyboard is good for quick messaging and things like that. But for someone who's writing a book or a paper, I mean, is anyone writing a book on an iPad? I'm sure someone is, but
I'm sure somebody with a masochist with blisters on their fingers. Yeah. Hey, it's great to talk to you, Brian. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. And if you'd like to be on our next show, well, here's how.
Need tech help? The new screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Coming up, the best cord-cutting app you've never heard of. The co-founder of Pluto TV is here. I'm dying to hear about this. But first, let's talk about IT Pro TV. I know a lot of you are IT professionals. And of course, if you are, you know that a big part of your job is keeping up with stuff. Many of you are geeks and want to become IT professionals. I got a solution for both of you. It's IT Pro TV. A good IT pro is always learning. IT Pro TV is kind of like Twit for IT pros. In fact, they freely admit that they saw Twit and they said, hey, we should do that. Tim and Don have been trainers for years in IT. And they created IT Pro TV a couple of years ago. Now they've got 2 studios. They shoot 50 hours of content every week. There's Don. Streamed live and on demand worldwide to your Chromecast, your computer, to your mobile device. They've got new iOS and Roku apps that will automatically resume playback when you move from one device to the other. And man, that episode library, it gets bigger all the time. Hundreds of hours. Everything you need to know on all the big certs, all the little ones too, A+, CCNA, Security Plus, MCSA, CISSP, network security, desktop support for Linux and Windows and OS 10, how to run servers, Apple, Microsoft, Cisco. They have the Sean Philip Oriano doing that incredible certified ethical hacker cert. He is the guy. He teaches military, he teaches industry. He's also got a course on hacking forensics investigator. By the way, this is a job. We were talking to a law enforcement professional on triangulation a few months back. He said there will be 1 million new jobs this year in forensics for security, for law enforcement. That would be a great skill to have. Crypto too, and I just take the courses because I'm interested in crypto, and Sean is a great teacher. If you don't have a Windows server and you want to learn how to run a Windows server, they can even help you there. They got an HTML5 browser, a virtual machine sandbox lab that will work in any browser. You could set up the server to set up the clients, and if you screw it up, which I always do, you just close the browser window and you're golden. It's good. Measure Up practice exams included with your subscription. They're worth $79, so you can take the test before you take the test. They have group pricing. They have business pricing. Harvard uses this. MIT uses IT Pro TV, UCSD, and Stanford. Now, here's the way it works. You pay a monthly fee and get access to everything. Or you could pay for a year and get 2 months free. We have a special offer for you. I want to get you that free 7-day trial and 30% off for the life of your account. You just need to go to itpro.tv/NSS and use our code NSS30. And you get, that's like less than $40 a month or $399 for the whole year. So it's a great deal. But they have a basic membership that lets you watch for free live anytime. So this week they're going to be doing MTA Security Fundamentals, CompTIA Server Plus, supporting Windows 7, and that live stream is free for anybody with a basic account. There's that silly Don wearing his fez on a... I love it. IT Pro TV's live stream begins at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. You can watch free with the basic account. But I think once you see how fun it is, the chat room, the way they do it, and how quickly you learn, you're probably going to want to subscribe. So remember this offer code, NSS30, itpro.tv/NSS, and you'll save 30% for life plus 7 days free when you use the offer code NSS30. And congratulations to Tim and Don, because they have really built an amazing business. And I want to take a little bit of credit for steering some customers their way. I think it's a really great thing. So, let's see. I think it's time to say hello to Ilya. Is it Ilya Pozin?
Ilya Pozin.
Hi, Ilya, from Pluto TV. How are you?
Hi, guys. How's
it
going?
You got the requisite beautiful startup facility there, the T-shirt, the whole thing. Tell me about Pluto TV. When did you start this?
So we came up with the idea about a couple of years ago. Be sitting with my daughter on my lap, and like everybody, I have 2 monitors set up, and I was working on one, and I was playing YouTube videos for her on the other, and she was about 2 at that time. And right when one video ended, I had to, pick her another one. Right. Otherwise, she's gonna, drive me crazy. So I kept picking the wrong ones, and she's like, "No, Daddy, more Elmo. No, another elephant video." And I thought, man, this is so difficult. I just learned how to change diapers. I have no idea. I'm not an expert in children's video. And, I kind of looked at the internet and I said, the fact that everything online is on demand, and if you know what you want to watch, everything is a keyword away, which is great. But if you don't know what you want to watch and you need a curated environment for kids videos or whatever it is, it actually doesn't exist. But where it does exist is television. When she's in front of the TV, she's watching hours and hours of content, and the whole concept of TV was kind of thrown out the window whenever online, right? So I thought, let's bring the television on the internet.
But wait a minute. How are you getting away with this? I mean, I'm watching The Saint. There's Star Trek on here.
Yeah, there's a whole Mystery Science Theater 3000. Yeah.
Are you licensing this stuff?
Yeah. So when we first launched, we launched in April 2014. initially we plugged into all the open APIs of YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, and a bunch of other open video platforms. And we started curating everything by hand. So we took individual clips, we formed them into 30-minute, 60-minute episodes. We lined them all up in a guide on over 100 channels of news, music, sports, comedy, entertainment, kids, and so forth. And we made everything live. So whenever anybody turned on any channel, everyone's watching the same thing at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
And that started to resonate with people really, really well. So then we started to license the content directly. So we started reaching out to a bunch of different content owners, both digital and traditional. So we made deals with companies like Funny or Die for their content, as well as library holders like Shout Factory, who own the rights to Mystery Science 3000. And we created this completely free, over 100 channel, like linear television-like experience.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. We built apps for iOS, Android, Amazon, Mac. We have on the web. We also have downloadable apps. We have a Chromebook app. We're on Amazon Fire TV. We're on Chromecast. We're on Android TV, and a bunch more stuff coming soon.
This blows my mind. I mean, the variety and the range of programming. Now, admittedly, you're not going to see the Academy Awards or the NFL on here, but for a lot of us, this is fine. Yeah. This is exactly what I want to see. Now, I'm watching on the browser on the web, and by the way, if you go there, it just starts up, right? You're immediately in the channel guide. I mean, this is like you're watching TV. Are there apps? Can I Chromecast it, for instance? Are there apps I can use?
Yeah, there's an iOS app, Android app, Amazon app. They actually, one of the best places to use it is on a connected TV device. So if you have an Amazon Fire TV or an Android TV device, or you have Chromecast on your phone, that's really where you should try it out, because holding that remote and flipping channels through the guide, it's exactly like it should be.
Yeah, this is like watching a cable channel, except it's free, right? Or is it free?
Completely free. It's all ad supported. It's all on a linear basis. Our users watch for a very long time. Instead of the one-off video with a pre-roll, people are sitting back and watching in television-like times, and like our partnerships are insane. We're really lucky. We're making deals with the right people. We just signed deals with IGN and Nerdist and The Onion and Hulu, and
this is awesome.
We're World Poker Tour and stand-up comedy and so forth. So
what is the balance?
If you.
What is the balance between the channels that you've made deals for and the aggregate kind of where you're just grabbing those APIs and things like that? What is the mix?
Yeah, right now it's probably about 80% open API, 20% licensed. But in a couple months, it's going to be the other way around.
Interesting. Wow. Now, Hulu is one of your customers. So if you have Hulu, is this the equivalent of the Hulu free account, or is it? It is. Okay. So a lot of this you could do yourself, but what you don't get is a channel guide. What you don't.
Well, that's
but
the
you
thing.
do get the knife show.
I mean,
nice.
There you go.
Okay.
No, I've been a cord cutter since '06, and the one thing that is missing from my home entertainment setup is the sit on the couch with no specific thing to watch. How can I flip the channels? Because I've eliminated channels. Everything's on demand now. So this is I was playing with it a couple of days ago, and it's kind of that mind blowing. It's like, oh yeah, I remember what it's like to flip channels and to find to stumble across something that you didn't know you wanted to watch.
And I have to say, if you're a nerd, you're going to find a lot more for you than maybe my mom would. I mean, this is a great nerd channel. There's NASA, there's Conan, there's 70s TV shows. This is an 80s and 90s TV shows and primetime drama even. I mean, there's Homeland, for crying out loud. So Ray Donovan, my favorite show. It's all on there.
And we've got a tech news channel as well, so maybe we should chat with you guys about bringing some of your content
on your tech news channel?
We've got news from all the major providers: IGN, CNET.
Oh, those guys.
Maybe
I think you'd probably do all right if you had a show like, say, the new Screensavers on there.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's not why we had you on. Oh, look at this. This is the Steve Jobs Memorial. This was incredible. I'm telling you, this is the kind of stuff. You'd be better off watching this than watching that movie, by the way. Well, it sounds like you've got where are you based, Ilya?
We're in LA, and it's 102 degrees today.
Holy camoly!
So is the plan to always stay app-based and using Chromecast, things like that, or do you foresee making a Pluto box that people can just plug into their TV?
Yeah, that went so well for Boxy, didn't it?
Well, they got bought by Samsung.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what you define as well.
Yeah, I like this model, really.
No, our goal is to become an app. We want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
We want to be in front of all people, all devices. We might even start putting some of our channels outside of our platform. So
When are we
going
gonna
to free and ad supported?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
When are we going to see a Roku channel?
Can't.
Oh!
Hopefully soon.
No, can't stay on the Okure. I talk about that. Hey, this is really exciting,
cool.
Ilya, and I am embarrassed that I'd never heard of it. So I'm really thrilled we could get you on. I bet you a lot of people watching at home are tuning in right now, jamming your servers. So
especially with the new Chromecast that Google rolled out, this is the perfect use of that.
Cool.
Yeah, so.
Ilya Pozin is the co-founder and chief growth officer of Pluto TV, Pluto.tv to watch right now. Thank you, Ilya.
Thanks
This
for
is
having
really
me.
cool. My people will be in touch. You hung up on him. All right.
There, he's back. Oh, excellent.
It's your producers. They cut me off.
My people. Hey, it's great to talk to you. Thank you, Ilya. Coming up, we've got an email tip. This is the most brilliant tip that I have never used, and I will,
clever.
from now on, take a look. Matt Richards.
Hi, I'm Matt Richardson, product evangelist for Raspberry Pi. One tip I have for you is that when I'm sending an email that's very, very important, maybe to a lot of people, what I'll do is I won't enter in any recipients at the beginning. I'll enter my subject, write the whole email, and then I'll save the recipients for the very end because you can't hit send on an email that doesn't have any recipients. So it's a little bit of a lock against accidentally hitting send prematurely. It saved me from a lot of heartache and a lot of accidental unfinished emails.
Oh, I wish I'd thought of that.
I know.
Like 100 years ago.
It seems so simple, right? I mean, like it's yeah.
Matt Richardson, you came up with I think that's the tip of the day.
I would say combine, if you use Gmail, combine that with the undo send in the labs settings.
Turn that on.
Turn that on, so you get a good minute to.
Let's be honest. All that does is it doesn't send it right away.
Right, yeah, but it pulls it back. That's all.
No, it's not pulling nothing back. You can't pull back
right,
email.
It doesn't send. Yeah,
it just says, oh wait, it's lazy.
Yes.
It's lazy send.
Well, yeah.
But you know that's good.
Yeah. It saved my butt more times than I can count. And if I had followed Matt's advice, I wouldn't have needed it. So
put in the email address last.
There you go.
Oh. Hey, it's time right now for the mailbag segment, which is so inaptly named because, in fact, it's a big-ass mailbox. Ron Richards, it's really been fun having
Yeah, it's been a blast. Thank you.
Ron is the host of All About Android. Would you like some Dinty Moore beef stew? This is something you don't have on the show.
Yeah, no, we don't. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm,
Be careful of the dust. We're trying to get a bigger layer on there. And what else you're a comic book guy.
I'm a lot of things, yeah. So I started off doing ifanboy.com, which is covering the world of comic books, doing a weekly 2005. This is our 10th anniversary of our audio podcast.
Can you believe that? That's so awesome.
I can't believe it. But from there, we did video, we built the whole site, and then started doing All About Android about 4 years ago or so. Yeah, which
we
is
love
crazy.
having you on the show.
I love that show. It's a highlight of my week. So,
Good.
Yeah.
It's a highlight of my week, too. Here is an email that you can read. By the way, good luck with your Mets.
Thank you.
I support their desire to beat the Dodgers.
Yes, beat LA.
You should beat them up and down. But then, when Chicago beats the Cardinals, I'm going to have to root for the Cubbies. Because you know what? It's been like 300 years since they won the World Series.
The Cubbies scare me because of the Back to the Future aspect of Back to the Future Part 2.
October
2015.
It's coming up. In fact,
year.
I think we're going to do a Back to the Future episode because it's what is it? October 21st.
October 22nd. 22nd. Yeah, and in Back to the Future 2, it says the Cubs won the World Series in 2015, and now it's 2015, and the Cubs are in the playoffs. It's kind of scary.
I think so. I think they knew something.
Yeah.
Read us your email.
Okay, this first email comes from Daryl, and Daryl says, "Good day, Leo, and other great staff. I'm considering the purchase of a new Nexus 6P, but I'm concerned about the overall security of the fingerprint scanner. I believe they're using the ARM-trusted platform, same as Apple, but this is the first time Google's added this at the OS level and the hardware level."
So this is a great question, and as you know, Samsung Galaxy S4 leaked fingerprint information. You don't want to ever leak fingerprint information because you can't change your fingerprint. And so if somebody can duplicate it, then you're in deep doo-doo. On the other hand, I love the idea of biometrics on phones, and I will not buy a phone anymore that doesn't have biometrics, at least a fingerprint reader. You know, Microsoft's new phone has an iris scanner.
Reminds me of the Android face unlock. Do you remember that?
So do you know how Google's implementing the fingerprint reader?
Yes, I do. Well, luckily enough, this question came up on a Reddit AMA that the Nexus team did recently. And of course, people asked the exact same question, and the answer was a sigh of relief because they revealed that they are the fingerprint never leaves the device.
Okay.
Okay. So they're using the trust zone protected area of memory, basically, which means that the fingerprint information goes into that area and never gets shared with Google, never gets shared with any other app. And it's nearly impossible to get to. I don't want to say never because never say never, but it's secure on the device. So
now, one of the things Apple does is they don't actually record your fingerprint. They record highlights, you know, kind of points of interest that they can then match up. So even if there were somehow a way to get the information out of the trusted zone, it wouldn't be useful. Wouldn't be your fingerprint. Do we know how Google's storing the fingerprint?
I don't know for sure how they're storing it, whether they're doing a similar highlight approach or doing the full scan or not. But they're doing everything they can to keep it as secure and as safe as possible.
And as they should. And I have to say, though, the overwhelming benefit of having a fingerprint reader I think in some ways overrides the minor security concern. It has to be hacked. You know, I mean, it's so great to have a fingerprint reader on a phone, and you feel like your contents are safe, much better than a passcode. I don't think you should buy a phone anymore without a fingerprint.
Well, and it's great to see it now implemented as part of Android because if you look at how long fingerprint scanners, like Samsung rolled it out, 2 years ago?
Right.
Google's been working to perfect it to get it to the point where they didn't want to put out something that was not as secure. So I put a lot of faith in it. So I wouldn't be too worried.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that's the problem is the earliest implementation, the Samsung implementation, was poorly thought out, had some flaws. But Google's been watching, and it's now part of Marshmallow,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is in Android 6.0.
So that we might see a platform-wide use of fingerprint readers, which would be fantastic. Here's one from Aaron. I'm going to Hawaii soon, and I would like to take some nice landscape pictures while I'm there. Can you recommend any reputable websites that I can rent a lens from for a short amount of time? Oh, this is a great idea, by the way. How about any websites that recommend the lenses you'd need for certain types of photography, landscape, portrait, waterscape, etc.? Well, if you have a high-end DSLR, borrowlenses.com is it, right?
Yeah.
It's what everybody uses. Have you ever done it?
I have not done it. I'm not a photography guy, but I've heard of people who've done it.
Yeah, even people like Trey Ratcliffe and professionals who, you know, can afford the best equipment will often borrow a lens from BL because they can try before they buy. They can get used to it. The lenses are in great quality. I think it's quite affordable. They do a nice job. Now, I don't know if they do recommendations, although here you can see a landscape essentials package for Nikon. Now, that's one catch. You're going to have a camera that they support, and they tend to be the professional DSLRs. But I like the idea that if you're shooting landscapes, you can go there and say, here's everything you're going to need, a couple of different lenses and the tripod and the Canon beginner landscape package. It even includes an SD card. Well, actually, that's for sale. Or no, that's a rental. It includes the body, which is nice.
And the prices seem super reasonable. Given, you know, given the level of equipment that you're using, you know, $150 to rent it for a lens for 3 days isn't that bad.
Yeah, especially if it's, you know, I mean, some of these lenses are thousands of dollars. So they do have packages. There are other sites though that I would look at for recommendations about what to take with you. I always read the camera reviews at a few different sites before I buy a lens. Certainly DP Review is the granddaddy of these sites and is a great place to look. I like Luminous Landscape. Michael Reichman is a landscape photographer who takes some of the best pictures you've ever seen and has done a really wonderful job on his website, Luminous Landscape. DxO1 is a great place for reviewing lenses. Now they, I think, sometimes aren't completely, you know, their stuff is scientifically right on, you know, but whether that reflects kind of really what a lens looks like, I don't know. For that, I go to places like the kind of the amateur photo enthusiast blogs like Steve Huffman's blog, which I read religiously. He's the one who got me to spend so much money on Sony gear and Leica lenses. Hey, you're going to have a great trip though, and it's nice to have a great camera. Sometimes though, getting too involved in the camera gear and stuff. My last trip, I decided I'm not going to bring a bag with 8 lenses and all this stuff. I brought one body, one lens, and I said, and then this is a great way to learn, by the way. I'm just going to do it all with this one lens and really learn its pros and cons. And I got some wonderful images.
And it becomes part of the experience. Have it less about worrying over the equipment you're using and more about enjoying the moment and getting that shot and getting that photo with the equipment you have.
It's a great hobby, though.
Yeah, I wish I was better at it. That's one of those things.
Well, the good news is nowadays it's easy to get better because digital photography, you can just keep taking pictures. You don't have to worry about the cost of developing and printing. You just take as many as you want.
Exactly.
Ron, it's been great having you.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Thank you so much for being here. I hope it was great having you, too. I hope you enjoyed the new Screensavers. This is a labor of love for me, as you know, as we wanted to bring this show back. I never thought we had the space to do it right, the manpower to do it right. And finally, my lovely wife and our CEO, Lisa Laporte, convinced me, no, I think we're ready to do this. We have a beautiful set, and we have a great staff, and I have to thank them. Tanya Hall and Jerry Wagley and Karsten Bondi, our technical director, Brian Burnett. Is it Brian back there today?
The cranky hippo.
The cranky hippo, there he is.
He showed up for the Screensavers when I'm on. He doesn't show up for All About Android all the time, but...
No, and of course our great editors. There's a big staff of people behind the scenes who make this happen, and I'm very grateful to all of them. But most of all, I'm grateful to you for your continued support. I thank you for watching. I hope you'll come back every Saturday afternoon. I think of it as the new Sábado Gigante. And I want to do this for 53 years. So please come back. We do it about 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 2200 UTC. You can be in the studio. We have a great live studio audience. Some of them got caught by traffic. Always leave earlier than you think. Saturday afternoon traffic is a nightmare in this area.
Especially coming from the city.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, leave an hour and a half, 2 hours early at least. We're buying who dinner? The entire studio audience. Congratulations. Email tickets at twit.tv if you'd like to be here. We'd love to have you. I'm Leo Laporte. Thanks for joining us. See you next time on the new Screensavers. Bye-bye. Sit on your hands.